PTO. I started working part-time when I was 13 years old, but it wasn't until I reached 25 years of age that I had paid vacation, holiday, and sick days, the three legs of the paid time off stool. Sick days, it was made clear, for when I was so ill that I simply could not work, and vacation days were to be used at times that pleased my employers and me in that order. Vacations were for times when work was slow. And if a holiday fell on a Sunday, then there was no holiday pay because we were closed Sundays. That's the way it was for me from 1986 through 2014. 2015 was the year I traded in my PTO for a bump in pay. Knowing well in advance that I would be leaving Iowa sometime that year, I went to my employer and suggested we take my PTO hours, divide them by my hourly rate, and bump my pay accordingly. I made this suggestion because moving 1,300 miles required me to take a lot of time off between the first of the year and whenever I finally left Cedar Rapids. I believe my pay went up $1.69 per hour, and with this reversion to only being paid if I worked, I tallied 4. Turns out that the last year I received PTO was 2014, until now. This year, my employer gave holiday pay for a limited number of U.S. federal holidays to all employees with the caveat that part-timers like me were paid for 4 hours while full-time workers were paid for 8. I was pleased to get the bump, but this month I received something I haven't seen since 2014: vacation pay. My history with not receiving vacation pay stretches back to 1996 when I kept my wife's job search under wraps until she had been at her new job for over a month. Her new job 535 miles to the north of our home in Atlanta, Georgia. I kept her new job under wraps because she'd started a new job at the beginning of 1990, received a glowing 3-month evaluation, but was subsequently fired from her position at Consolidated Benefit Services when she told her employer she was pregnant. Yes, this is the impetus behind my Joe Clean pregnancy stories. As a result of her job loss and complications from her pregnancy, our finances went into a tailspin and I kept mum until we were comfortably certain of our future. When I turned in my 2 weeks' notice late in 1994, my employer said, "You're not going to use your vacation to cover part of your 2 weeks' notice, right?" This statement, phrased as a question, stripped me of a week's pay and left a bad taste in my mouth. My employer did give me a nice going-away present that had a retail value of nearly 1 week's pay. 1 week's pay would have been better compensation, but at least there was a nod of thanks with the goodbye gift. For 2 decades, I received PTO from 2 employers, one in Indiana and one in Iowa. But when I moved to Florida, I went from full-time to part-time work status, and my PTO went bye. 2018, I started a full-time job in North Carolina with promises of vacation, limited holiday, and sick pay. Despite repeated requests to receive vacation pay, my employer never provided me with a paid vacation. He sold his IBD, independent bicycle dealership, to Trek Corporate. I went back to working part-time and having an expectation of 0 pay unless I was working. Again, to be fair, the IBD owner did gift me with some product when he closed the store that I have converted into cash via selling some of the items. Not an equitable nor fair exchange, but certainly a salve for the wound. 2020 COVID time, Trek Corporate steps up with COVID illness precautions and sick pay, and towards the end of the year, the aforementioned 4 hours pay for PT workers for a limited number of federal holidays. The pay was a welcome surprise, but this week, I received vacation pay for some time off that I took earlier this month. Time off that I assumed would be unpaid. Seems that having worked for Trek Inc. for over 1 year, I now receive up to 40 hours of PTO. My 1994 Indianapolis employer was fond of the phrase, "Disappointment is a function of expectation," a truism I repeat often. Turns out its reciprocal is likewise true because receiving PTO when expecting none was a very pleasant turnaround.